그 벗어 운여리 미미시테 내기로서 버룩 아토다노이 사메아코선 임하칼로
Brooke Adonai, Heli Melech Olam, B'rei Pri Hagafen.
Round of applause for all of them, please. So, most of you will probably know Andrew. Andrew is, those of you that don't know who Andrew is Jonathan's brother. He's his older brother. He's also wiser, better looking. He's more reliable, more successful. He's wittier, kinder, he's more generous. He's more respected. He's better at cricket, golf, football, squash, tennis. He's wider red. He's more, you get the idea. Anyway, if anyone doesn't know me, I'm Howard, and same thing applies, except we're just not related. So it's an interesting phenomenon being one of two best men at a wedding, and I wasn't actually quite sure of what my duties would be, so I asked Jonathan, and I said, what do you need me to do? And he said, nothing, just turn up on time and make sure you bring the best man's peach. So here it is, fella. And with that gag, actually, the drummer was supposed to be here with a, but I think he's sleeping in the back room somewhere. So with that, I'll hand you back over to Andy.
Thanks, Howard, for those earlier kind words. Much appreciated. True, but yeah, much appreciated nonetheless. So you might know him as John, Jonathan, John Johns, which is one I've not heard for quite a long time, JD, or even Helen. And that last one pays homage to his cricket skills. Basically, he plays like an old lady, and was therefore named after the character in the famous soap Neighbours, as you can see on the screen. But for the purpose of this speech, we're going to refer to him the way Shira refers to him, which is pooch. Yep, you heard it, pooch. Now, tradition dictates that we have one of two choices for this segment. We can either regale you with witty anecdotes from Jonathan's childhood and delayed adulthood, or we can simply stand here and completely destroy his standing and his reputation. Fortunately, we can probably achieve both objectives with the same content. So let's get started. Howard, how long have we got?
Well, actually, the funny thing is when Pooch spoke at my wedding, he started by saying that the best man's speech needs to be as long as it takes the groom to perform his duties in the bedroom. And at that point, he threatened to wrap it all up and raised a toast. And as my wedding guest chuckled away, I just tucked that gag away for use at a later date, which happens to be today.
Sadly, though, when researching how long it does take our Pooch to perform his duties in the bedroom, we encountered a serious lack of data. In fact, nobody could provide a reference point. That being said, I'm certain we've already overrun, but we'll carry on regardless. A few formalities, or as my fiancée calls them, necessities. Ladies and gentlemen, or the bride and groom maybe. Ladies and gentlemen, family and friends. And Pooch assures me there are some freeloaders as well. You all look wonderful. Our bridesmaids look lovely. Where are you? Absolutely beautiful. But of course, they are rightly outshone, as we all are, by our beautiful bride, Shira. Here's to you, Shira. Welcome to the Daniels family.
You know, Andy, I actually recall the first time I heard about Shira. Pooch had come to visit me in where I live in Seattle. And we sat there on a rainy balcony drinking wine, a few glasses, smoking a few cigarettes. And he began to talk about an amazing girl he'd met. He'd been apart from her on his travels, and anyway, and he sort of said that maybe she was the one. And as Andrew, you probably heard that because he just whispered that into the microphone. Apparently, I made a little faux pas there because Maureen and Philip didn't actually know that Pooch used to smoke. But you know, I think that's just the first of many cats that are going to come out of the bag tonight. So, but if it helps, I don't actually think he inhaled, so I think we're okay there.
Yeah, sorry, Mum and Dad. We actually did smoke when we were teenagers. We tried our best to hide our secret habit by taking Howard's dog Dusty out for a walk, although sometimes as much as 2 or 3 times in the evening. We probably got away with it because of Pooch's cunning plan to always bring deodorant spray which the dog returned home smelling rather nice. So sorry to break it to you, but we just haven't simply discovered a love of dog walking.
Yeah. Dog walking. Mind you, that probably made it less surprising when Pooch and Shira discovered their shared love of dogging around the wild.
No, not dogging, foraging.
Sorry, folks. That's foraging, not dogging. Foraging. Sorry, they shared love of foraging around the wilder public places of northwest London. So where does Pooch come from then? I thought that was... Anyway, never mind. Where were we? Foraging, yes. I think we're all fortunate actually tonight that we've been able to share in their passion. Some of the fine treats that have all been foraged. The elderflower cordial is amazing. And if anyone has actually managed to try the wild rhubarb that Pooch foraged from the farm down the road, I'm sure you won't be too disappointed. Although I'm not sure I can say the same for the owner of said farm.
Foraging, of course, is not John's only outdoor pursuit. In fact, right from almost when he was a baby, he's always been the outdoorsy type, as we can see here. You're not meant to go, you're meant to laugh at him. For as long as I can remember, as a child, John's house chores and housework would either lay unstarted or abandoned, as he'd disappear from dawn till dusk to a small patch of mud behind the garden shed, which we have a picture here for you. From building dams in April to creating irrigation channels in September, that little patch of mud was probably the best civil engineering education money couldn't buy. I'm not sure that Dad was always impressed as the foundations of the shed began to subside. Between that and the experiments he would create inside the shed with my chemistry set, that's mine, it's a miracle there's any garden left at all.
And actually, when you think about it, all that outdoor time probably influenced Pooch's decision to spend all that time after his degree cottaging in South Wales.
No, he lived in a cottage. He lived in a cottage.
Sorry. You got it. Okay. Sorry, he wasn't. He lived in a cottage in South Wales while studying for his master's degree in environmental architecture, which is actually pretty impressive, especially considering his early lack of success in almost all academic endeavours. Languages, for example, was a particularly failing subject for our Pooch. And I actually recall back in 2005, a road trip through Europe. Pooch and I found ourselves somewhere between Zurich and Lucerne when the iPod died. And we realized we'd left the charger at the previous evening's campsite. So, claiming to speak both German and French, Pooch boldly marched into the local gadget store and inquired, "Parlez-vous français?" The answer came back as a resounding non. Not a problem for Pooch, I thought. He'll just switch to German and we'll be back listening to Elaine Page's greatest hits in no time. So we knew that the shop attendant didn't speak any French, and even if they did, I suspect we still have left empty-handed as Pooch marched back over and said, "Je suis un iPod pour le autocar." So suffice to say, we listened to the radio for the rest of that trip. But not to be downtrodden, the next day, in an attempt to redeem himself, Pooch offered to negotiate the campsite grocery store. So we had bread in the basket, we had our eggs, easy, we had chocolate, perfectly sweet, but no milk. Where did they keep the milk? We couldn't see it. "Don't worry," says Pooch, "I'll handle this." And he marched right over to the counter and he exclaimed, "Milch!" To which the store assistant replied, "Milch?" To which Pooch replied, "Milch?" And this went back and forth for a long, long time, until eventually he did wise up and delivered another classic, "Café au lait avec non café." So on that occasion, I actually stepped in and we did have milk, and we did in fact dine like kings that evening, at least with no music. And actually, those are just two small highlights of the 2 weeks that I spent cooped up with Pooch in a tent in a car through Europe. And to be honest, with the rest of your lives to be cooped up together, Shira, I have nothing but admiration for you and maybe a small sense of trepidation.
Now, despite the wedding you've experienced today, it's still worth noting that even today, John retains